Good morning. Today we are going to be painting on 140-pound watercolor paper. So I have taped it up to my board and I've painted it all a light pink color. It's pretty streaky. I could do another layer on it, but we're just gonna jump right on in. So I've made a purple with white, red, and blue, and this is going to be my vase because we are going to be doing flowers today. I think I want a wide vase, so I'm gonna just eye it to be about there, maybe a bit farther in. And then let's make it a vase like that, shall we? Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Okay, something along those lines. I think this needs to be a little bit higher. A nice swoop. Now, I can't press too hard on this watercolor paper because first off, it's fairly thin. And then, moreover, because it's already wet from my first layer of paint, I've let my first layer dry, but it's still just a little bit tacky. So my paper is wet, and I have to be gentle as I paint, which is not really one of my strong suits. But we are going to try, and we're going to fill in the rest of this vase. Now, there's a couple ways that I could do this. I could do it very color blocky, and so like the vase is just going to be purple, and that's it. It'll just be a block of purple color, which is totally cool. Another way that it can be done with our pink background and with this paint still being wet, I can specifically lay the paint thinner, like I can rub it off and stuff like that, in places that I want there to be highlights, and then I can put it thicker in places where I think it would be in shadow. So if I were to do that, I have to move quickly because it's going to dry. But if we were to say, like right here, maybe, that would be a highlight. Let's put a highlight there and a highlight like right there. And a highlight up at the brim here, if the light's coming from there. And then let's add some more paint over here. And in fact, I'm gonna add a little bit of straight blue just to tone it all down. I'm gonna swoop that blue around, and I'm gonna put a little bit of blue under here to emphasize the idea that that is below a lip. I put too much blue, that's okay. Let's put a little bit more purple. Yeah, okay, I like that. So now we have our vase, our purple vase, and what I want to put in this purple vase is pink flowers. So sometimes I actually decide where the flowers are before I paint the vase. I didn't do that today, didn't feel like it. What we're going to do now is stick the flowers on. I think these are going to be roses. Roses are way easy to paint. So I'm going to just try it. So one way is to think of it as a whole bunch of flowers that are like that. And so these would all be stems, and then you'd have a whole bunch of flowers like up there. Another way is a linear. This is probably my personal favorite way to do floral arrangements, where you have some down here and they kind of stagger their way up into this corner. And I guess that's what we're doing. And then another way is to think of it as like a pyramid, basically. And that would be, you know how you might have like a flower box like outside your front door, and it's just like a whole bunch of flowers? That's how that would be. But we're going to do the diagonal way because I already put some paint up there. So let's put some more splotches, really wherever we vibe with them. And this is the same pink that is red and white. It's the same two colors as the background, just in different ratios. Let's put some there, down there. There's really no science to this. I mean, there is a science to it. It's called artistic composition. But I don't really go in much for composition. I just do what looks right. And if it doesn't look right, it's just a piece of paper. We can do it again. I think we need that guy. And then I think that's pretty much good. All right, so next step is defining these flowers more. So I've mixed yet another shade of pink up, and I have changed out my brush to this guy. And what we're going to do is just make these little triangles, essentially, little rounded triangles. And so I think I want that and there, because at the point of these triangles is where our stems are going to go. So they need to be able to naturally arc their way into our pot. And this is why I often paint my pots last. And then a couple of these, we're going to pretend as if they're like coming out of the picture like this. And so they're not going to have V's. This is the top of the flower. But not this one. That one's going to have a V. And that one. If you want to get a little more technical, you can also paint flowers that look like they're going the other way. So you would put like the stem there as if it's facing that way, which is also really fun to do, but we're not going to do that today. Okay, let's do that one. And how about this one up here for definite? Now, I haven't overlapped any of these flowers, which is within my right, but it will look more authentically like a floral arrangement if you have these flowers staggered on top of each other. I think that one's going to have a V, yeah. Okay. All right, so I've given all these flowers just a little bit more definition. And next, what am I going to do next? I think what's going to happen next is we're going to continue on in our quest for definition by adding some things to our flowers here. So I'm going to try not to touch my pot because it's still kind of wet, but I'm just going to add little doohickeys around here. Now, since I am painting on a piece of paper, I don't want this paint to be super thick because this piece of paper is going to bend in its life. And I don't want it to do that because it'll crack all my lovely raised up brush strokes. On the other hand, I like raised up brush strokes, so we're going to do that. Now I'm going to add these up here too. Yeah, like that, just like that. Okay, I like that. And to be honest, you can stop a flower painting wherever you want because flowers are some of the absolute most forgiving things to paint. And my absolute favorite, to be honest, my real favorite is ships, but ships are hard to paint. And so if I just want to paint, it's flowers every time. Okay, so here we have our slightly more defined flowers, and I'm going to define them a bit more. That being said, this is a perfectly valid place to stop. What I'm going to do is grab some light pink. This is actually part of the same mixture of light pink that I used for the background, and add a little bit of definition to our sides here. Now I'm going to cover this up with yet more pink, so don't panic because I know it does look kind of dorky. But these are just highlights that we're going to have in our back pockets. Our back pocketses. And there, and two more. There, and there. So now I've got kind of like a light medium pink that I'm going to cut in yet again. Again, it's just more texture here. These are not very precise flowers. You can go way precise on flowers too if you want to. And you can go way unprecise. Like I said, you can just do circles, or you can do like Macintosh roses, which are great. Macintosh roses are, I'm gonna paint one over here. It's like a circle, and then you just subdivide it a couple times, and then there you go. That's a Macintosh rose. So you can do really anything you want when painting flowers. And painted flowers are way cheaper than real ones because real ones are so crazy expensive. So when I started this picture, I was 100% planning on just pink roses. But now that I'm looking at it, like I really want some blue flowers too. So I have got some blue and white already on my palette here. I'm gonna mix the two of them together and see what we come up with. Now, my blue paint leans purple, so when I mix it with white, I usually get like a periwinkle type, which is a lovely color. If I want a different shade than that, I need to mix it with some green. So here is a periwinkle type that I've got. Let's see what that makes. Oh, I like that. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do with that is I'm going to branch off this way. Now that I've already got this done, I'm gonna branch off this way, and I'm gonna do one of those long flowers, you know what I mean. So it's gonna go like that, and like that, exactly. And I think I'm gonna do one more behind it too. Okay, yeah. They don't sell flowers like that in the flower shop at my house, let me tell you. So another benefit of painting flowers instead of buying them for Valentine's Day is that you can get whatever sort of flowers that you want instead of whatever flowers are common in your region. So I would usually, since this is behind, I would usually paint this first, but I didn't know I was gonna add it. So we didn't paint it first, and that's okay. I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter back here because I'm going to make it a little bit darker back there. Ooh, that's too dark. Oh well, I'll fix it later. Because I want this back one to be in shadow and to have it be visually distinct from the front one. Oh yeah, I like how that looks. Let me add a little bit more. Okay, yeah, that looks how I want it to. And then I'm gonna use a little bit of dark blue on this front one. That also looks like how I want it to. Carefully cutting in around this rose. Okay, now boom, there's some more flowers. I'm pretty happy with them. I feel like since we've added those, we should add just a little bit more something. One thing that I really love is I love primary colors. So we've got blue, we've got red. I would love to add a yellow flower. I like marigolds myself. Yellow roses, yellow tulips are also super great. What am I gonna add though? I think I might leave it be for right now. What I think I might do instead is add some kind of a fake baby's breath at the end, because we really have got this all visually filled. How I am going to incorporate the yellow is I'm going to make a yellow table here, because if you've noticed, we are just floating in the air, which is fine. It's totally fine to float in the air, but I'm gonna throw on a yellow table. So I've mixed a yellow with white to make it a bit brighter, and I don't know where I want my table to be. I think I want it to be right about there, which means I'm gonna have to very carefully move around that rose. And it's gonna be over there. Yeah, like that. And then I'm gonna lay it on. I like tables to be pretty textured, so I'm going to try to work in a lot of heavy brush strokes here. That being said, if your flowers are already super textured, which is great for flowers, it really makes them pop, then maybe a textured table is not a good option. I don't want to paint over this pot, but I mean, if it happens, it happens. There's no painting over the pot, please. Okay, and then while this paint is still wet, I'm going to work in a little bit of my purple because there should be a shadow from where the pot is. If our light is from here, then there's going to be a shadow over here. So I want just a little bit of purple, just a tiny bit. Okay. Does this need anything else? I mean, you could, once again, stop here, or you could keep adding more flowers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint all of my stems now. And so now this is one flower and these are another flowers. Their stems would look different. They would be different shades of green. There's no stem police, so you can just mix up one shade of green and do all your stems like that, or you can do two. So I've got this really light green from white, blue, and red. Not white, blue, and red. It's white, blue, and yellow. Red would be a very different shade. So I'm going to start, it doesn't really matter where you start, but I'm going to start right here and just cut in. Now, it can be fun to paint stems really lightly, to just do like that, just an idea of a stem, or you can do a full stem, but it's difficult to paint, especially in this slapdash style we were painting in today. It's difficult to paint a straight, solid line that doesn't have any breaks. We've got breaks here, and that doesn't splurge randomly. So the staggered, the gap style is a more forgiving style. Here we have to make sure, or we would like to make sure, that this pot is completely dry before we do this one, or else as we take it through the pot, we would pick up purple and it would be a purple green stem instead of a straight up green stem. I'm gonna do the same over here. Oh, no, we're not. It's not gonna go through the purple. Well, just a little bit. It's gonna cut down. Another thing you could do is do a slightly darker shade of green for the stems that you know are a bit farther back. That would add some more layers in your painting, and it would look really cool. As you get more and more flowers, it's not necessary to take every single one to the pot. They're all going to merge eventually, and no one's going to be counting your stems. And we're going to take that down there. Another thing that I like to do is if I have a lot of flowers, I like to not even paint stems at all, because I think it gives kind of a fun, like, quasi-abstract look to just have the flowers in the vase. And also, like, that's what you see. No one looks at stems, you know? Like, see, I'm not bringing that one all the way down. You don't really notice. Same with that one. And that is gonna cross over down here. Yeah, that's a bad trajectory because that's just going to the side. So this one was a complete mistake. But that's okay. That's okay. We always make mistakes. I always make mistakes at any rate. I'm going to leave that one. This one, is that blue dry? Yeah, that blue is dry enough. So I'm going to take that down. Now, what color do I want that one to be? I think I want it to be just a bit darker. So I'm going to mix just a little bit of blue into my same green mix. And I'm going to take that down. Oh, you can barely notice. That's okay. I'm trying to hide these a little bit because I want it to make like these blue flowers are behind everything else. And so we are ready for our finishing touch. So I'm going to take a pretty small brush. This is it. And I'm going to dip it very delicately into some white paint. And I'm going to scrape a lot of that white paint off because I want only the tiniest bit of white paint. And now what I'm going to do is just add little white dots around to kind of simulate baby's breath. And those white dots are mostly blue because I caught some blue up on my brush. You know, that's life. We're going to try this again. Maybe less blue this time, but maybe just the same amount of blue. Oh, same amount of blue. Okay. I'm going to clean this brush by rubbing it on my hand. And we're going to grab some more. Ha ha ha, there's the white we're looking for. Let's add some there, some there, some there. The smaller the dots, the better the effect. But, you know, it's okay if they're not very small too. Let's put some there, some up there, over here. And also layering on top of your stems and your flowers is a good effect, because it makes everything just look more filled and complete. All right, and that is a super duper simple bouquet. If you learned something, I would love a follow or a subscribe or a like, and have a beautiful day.